What to do when your bow looks like this. Alright, so this is the top limb. The C-clamp is in place. C-clamp came off on the other side. So we have to slide this piece back on and then put a C-clamp on there. I'm going to grab a C-clamp and a pair of needle nose pliers to do that. So this is a C-clamp here. That's what I call a C-clamp anyway. And that's how I drop it on the floor. Alright, there's a tiny little trough right on the outside edge here that this clamp goes into. There it is. Popped into place. You want to make sure your spacers are in there. The spacers are going to be on the opposite side as where the cable will go. The cable is going to go against this side. So this is the top limb. Cables will go on the right hand side. So the way that we're going to put this in, first plastic piece came out that the limbs will ride in. The limbs are going to go in, I'll show you here. The wording is going to face outward. These are going to pop down in here like this, and then we're going to ultimately need a bow press to put this together. So for the bottom cam, both pieces came off that the cables ride in, so we'll need to reinstall both sides. Let's just do one at a time, and we'll put a C-clamp on one at a time. It'll be easier that way. Going to do this the same way as the last one. That. Flip it over. Okay, you hear a little clip noise when it fully engages, when it's fully locked in. Now take a look at your spacers. So the side here, the cable is going to run on and hit the cable stop. There's a very thin spacer in there. And then on the other side, there's actually two spacers. Okay, now for the bottom limb, this is going to ride in this channel here, and then your wording is going to face out, and it's going to pop into place like that. Now I'm going to put the bow in a bow press so that we can put the string and cables on. Alright, so for the string, go around the cam. And onto this peg here. Same on the other side. When I got to this phase, I realized, you know, there's going to be people who might need to see the cam be assembled onto the axle. So I paused and I took one of the cams off, and here's how to put it back on from scratch. You got to start by putting the right shims on the correct side. On the side where the cables are going to ride, there's a very, very thin shim. On the other side, there's 2 spacers for this particular model of bow. And the way I took it off, I'm going to put those on first. Out of the 2 spacers, I'm just putting the thinner one on first. And the thicker one. And the cam, making sure that the cable side is on the right. I'm going to need my limb. Pop that in. Slide that axle out a little bit. I'm actually going to need my super thin spacer on this side of the axle. Slide it through. Pop the C-clamp on. So for this side, I'll put the yoke on this side. Now when you're putting yokes on, this is a brand new cable, so you're going to want to add twist so that you have stuff to work with. So I want to make sure you go underneath the string on both sides. If you're in a situation where you have to swap out a cam, the easiest way to do it is to pop off the C-clamp. I'm going to push it toward the other side because the other side has the main shims. Okay, now I dropped a thin shim. You want to double check, make sure you're putting the correct cam on. I'm switching out the old style cam for the new style cam. Has a different attachment for the cable. I carefully put this down in, slide my axle through, pause just as I'm coming out the other side, get my last shim on. Okay. I want to make sure that this piece is facing the correct way. There's a little bit more of a gap on the side that goes against the limb. Alright, so I'm going to connect the cable here. Alright, so you want to make sure that the vented side is facing the riser, and you're just clipping onto the peg there and going on the outside edge of this little hump there. Going to do the same on the other end. You want to make sure your cables are on this side of the string stopper peg. Now, your cable slide has a deeper trough and a shallower trough. So the deeper side goes in first, and you're actually going to hook in that deeper side first, and then the shallower side. There should be almost an 1/8 of an inch gap between these two cables. If not, maybe you have this cable on the other side of that, so you're going to need to disconnect it, bring it over the top, and reconnect it here. Okay, now before you decide or try to use the bow, make sure the cables are around this as needed. Obviously your string needs to be in the groove of the cam there. You want to check that on both ends. Cable is where it needs to be. This one here, I need to reset the draw mods and tune the bow, put a D-loop on it, and stuff like that. If you want to see the next video, in the next video I'm going to be working on this bow here. This is the Hero X10. I'm going to change the limbs and the cams. This currently has the standard limb and cam on it. I'm going to put the long draw limbs and cams and strings, everything, going to swap everything out on this, so stay tuned for the next video if you want to check that out. Till then, take care and God bless.